Hi, beautiful souls. Today I'm sharing a little light about being really aware and careful with your focus. Yesterday I was into my third chapter of a new book that I'd started, and I was aware that I was feeling unrest and that it wasn't resonating with me. The topic, the subject, the material was not in alignment with what I was wishing to bring forth into New Earth. And usually I complete books or I get a bit further in, but I stopped in that moment. I was like, okay, this is a lesson that I to be aware of. You know, just because you started reading this book doesn't mean you have to finish it, doesn't even mean you need to share it on. So I was like a little bit confused because this book has won lots of reviews and it's supposed to be a great book. But you know, often there's so many books, films, and everything else that have got great reviews, but their subject matter isn't very nice. And what does that tell you? It's like encouraging a pain body to continue, to keep growing that pain body, encouraging people to look in places that distorts and limits the beautiful magnificence that each one of us are. So I took that book and I put it into the paper recycling because I didn't want to be responsible for passing on that kind of material to somebody else. Certainly not a loved one, and not to some unassuming person in a charity shop. So no, it went into recycling. And so I'm sharing this here just to say that, you know, sometimes we have to really be aware. And then yesterday I also had this like urge, a craving for something sweet. And I was like, I really could use something sweet. And I was finishing off one of my wonderful courses that I had been on, Mastery Intensive with Sandra Walter, which is absolutely brilliant. And I was like, okay, so look, if you want something sweet, you can have something sweet if you make it from scratch. If you are prepared to make it from scratch, so you know exactly what's going into it, and so that you can put only good energy into that, so that when you consume it, it is of the highest light. Because as we keep up leveling, we are holding more light, and anything that we do that limits us can become very uncomfortable. You know, reading a book that doesn't resonate becomes very uncomfortable, and we don't want to have to then work on ourselves to shift that we've read out from our consciousness. So it's better just not to go there in the first place. This is what awareness is about, is knowing and stopping ourselves in our tracks so that we can clear down, we can rebalance, and then we can redirect our focus to something that's a lot lighter, something that uplifts us, something that supports us, something that's holds us in the highest light. So I stopped myself because once I realized, okay, I could have something sweet if I wanted, but it would require my effort to create that. And at that moment, I was busy creating other things. So I was like, okay, this is also something very useful for my awareness. Put that aside. And then this morning I woke up. I had this incredible dream time last night with all of these magical animals and a carpet, an alive carpet. It was a fascinating dream, so expansive and wide and silken and pastel and beautiful. And I was like, okay, so I can create a lot more wonder. I just have to hold as much light as possible. I know this anyway, but if I am doing anything to my system that is reducing my light, then I have to catch back on that. And that holds me apart from the direction that I am moving in and becoming. So the awareness and how we're living is important, because obviously the more light we hold, the more uncomfortable things become that are limiting us, that are taking us away from our focused path of love and joy and peace and wonderment. You know, a small piece of chocolate is fine every now and then if it's been prepared and created with a lot of love and good intention, and if the way that you're eating it is really, really mindful and considered from your heart space. But if you consider for 1 second, like a piece of chocolate, you have, say, something like a piece of chocolate from Rhythm 108, beautifully handcrafted in Switzerland with vegan ingredients, or you have your run-of-the-mill chocolate mass-produced in a factory. You know, we're talking about different things, and that's the same for everything. There's contrast, and yet we're unifying. But we're also bringing in more light because we're expanding and we're holding more light. So how do we wish to move forwards on our paths? How do you want to move forwards on your path? How do you want to hold your light? If you have any issues with fears, depressions, anxieties, or any of that sort of stuff that you're still removing from your system, then you want to be holding as much light as possible, and you want to be keeping that as balanced as possible. So not up and down, up and down, up and down, which takes energy to reclaim your balance. So level, be balanced in how you live right now, so that you can create the greatest outcomes, the most light and love for all. Thank you for watching. My name is Zaza. If you like this video, subscribe, share, like, if you feel called to do so. Many blessings.